happy to see so much filming going on the indie side, because you always just see like huge trucks in Manhattan, right? And it's always some big studio, thing. So yeah, no, just the other day, and they said it right. I was listening to somebody on Joe Rogan. He was saying too, like, yeah, like only indie filmmakers seem to be taking chances.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Nora, I don't know if you saw Nora or not, but Sean Baker is a great director, in my opinion.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
his
yeah.
independent filmmaking, and Nora's a really good film. Mickey Madsen, amazing actress. So if you haven't seen Nora yet, please check it out. You'll love it. And it won 4 Oscars. And what they said, a $2 million budget, which for independent film is a very small budget. But a production company, Neon, picked that up. So, the little engine that can still win Oscars. A $2 million film winning 4 Academy Awards, that's really impressive, and they deserved it. It was a great film.
Oh, certainly.
Now walk in beauty.
How did you find me? After my adoptive mother died, it was at the funeral.
Beauty is before me.
It was a disaster. Sorry we did that.
Sorry too.
You think maybe my birth father might be different?
It's something to consider.
Beauty is behind me, above and below me.
And now she shows up 30 years later? How can you be so sure?
We took a DNA test.
Now you can proudly say, I am what I am.
I can. I guess.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm Caterina Campagna, and I'm here with Chris Gaunt. And he and his writing partner have submitted a wonderful film. We're going to get into that. The name of the film is Born a Secret. And yes, thank you, Chris, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's my first day back from a vacation, so it's good to jump right back into the film world. So thank you for carving out some time and chatting with me today. I appreciate it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well-deserved vacation. You seem like a very prolific creator. It seems like you have lots going on. So I don't know. Let's go to the beginning. What started you on your journey, on your path?
Yeah, great question. I took somewhat of a circuitous path. I always loved film and good television as a child, and one of the bonding moments I had with my dad and mom and 2 sisters and brother years and years ago, is we'd find and sink our teeth into really great films and television, and then we talk about them and talk about them and talk about them. So how would we have cast this? What would we have done differently, perhaps, in terms of directing it? And what did we like? What were the areas in our opinion, for opportunity for improvement, et cetera? So to me, that was a wonderful, beautiful memory that I shared with my dad, mom, and my siblings. And I carried that into, younger life and then into adulthood. But I took a more traditional business path for 32 years. I did something very, very different, more in kind of a traditional business world. I was married, I had children, and decided that was the path at that time. But about 7-8 years ago, I decided, if not now, when? So I took the leap of faith in kind of a planned out way, and I decided that I wanted to act and direct and produce and write the rest of my life. So it's been, I think, 7 or 8 years now, and it's been wonderful and super challenging and super rewarding, and at times a bit frustrating, just because I want to try to get so much done in a relatively short amount of time, especially when you're doing all 4, when you're acting, producing, writing, and directing. There never seems to be enough time to do all the projects and say yes to everything you want to say yes to, but doing my best and learning a little bit each project I sink my teeth into. It's been a fun.
Wonderful. Let's break into that there. So now you did your 32 years in another business. Did you completely halt that to pursue the arts?
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a full stop. And I chatted it with my family and decided that, we all collectively decided that it was a green flag or a go. And, is it ever the right or ideal time? Don't know. But I really wanted to do that before, candidly, the clock keeps ticking, right? So I wanted to do it while I was still young and healthy. And both of our children at the time were in college and kind of exiting their undergrad years and a little bit more on their own. So I felt that was a decent time for me to take the leap. And I'll tell you, it's kind of fun that when Kathy, my spouse, and I decided that, I'm going to do this, we hit the road. And for almost 2 straight years, we were on the road every single week. And I mean every week. And I was saying yes to every single project across the country I was fortunate enough to be cast in, provided it had a speaking part. I wanted to really practice the craft of acting and speak in things, and also ask a million questions when I was on set to learn the other aspects of the entire production, which has helped with, as I direct and produce, executive produce, write my own material, etc. So it was a great baptism by fire, and I said yes to every project I was cast in. Feeling really fortunate that I was cast in some neat things, and you learn so much when you do that. Again, dive right into the 12-foot end of the deep end of the pool, and either you sink or swim.
That's great. Did any of your because you have a lot there to look into. So I think it's great, those memories you kind of, had of growing up and really diving into work. And, that was maybe even your first training, or your first exposure. So I wonder, as your family, has they given you feedback like, oh wow, like remember when, and now you're doing it, and yeah.
Yeah. And I think the business world, whether you're a fan of the business world or not, and there's some things I loved about it and some definite areas of improvement, in my opinion, on more of a traditional business path. But the one thing that I did take from that line of work was an incredibly strong work ethic and discipline. And I was in a position where it was kind of like Super Bowl Sunday every day. You really needed to perform at your highest and best level, which I appreciate that. And that kind of attitude, I think, has served me well as I've, had a chance to dive into this now for, going on 8 years now. That's really helped a lot because it's really such a difficult business. And passion, I think, only takes you so far. You have to love it with all of your heart and soul. But you have to, in my opinion, have that strong work ethic and desire, because it can be really tough sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs in this business, particularly on the acting side, where you're hearing no, 1,000 times more than you're hearing yes. So you just continue, don't take it personally, dust yourself off, get back up on the horse and try again. And that goes for directing, producing, and writing as well. There's really nothing easy about this business, in my opinion, but that doesn't mean you can't love and enjoy every experience and embrace it, and and learn from each experience as well.
And just touching on the acting a bit, you had a part in this film, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Born a Secret, and it was really well done. And I'm just curious because I know, like, people now are told, like, you're supposed to do everything, act, write, direct, produce.
Yeah.
Do you ever get any backlash too? Because I think there's like a coin, a double coin to that. Like, you get, people might say, oh, well, he just wants to do everything, or, so what have you encountered in terms of that?
I think it's a great question. I think it depends on the project. So what I have learned, again, I haven't been doing this forever, like so many I work with, particularly on the acting side, they've been acting for 25, 35, 40 years. I mean, really have been practicing their craft and really honed in on maybe just the acting side, which is enough. I mean, if you're an actor, that's great, and there's plenty to do there. But I haven't really taken any backlash, interestingly enough. And again, I've only been doing this full time for about 8 years. But what I have found, again, right or wrong, is that if I want to do a better job, candidly, of controlling my own outcome and controlling my own career path. And what I mean by that is when you're acting, whether you're, being found out from a casting director or you're online with, several acting sites that we all peruse constantly. If you're acting, everyone knows that. But 9 out of 10 times you're hearing nothing. It's just one of those. It's law of averages. If you're the right fit for the role, it's very, very subjective. So, and it is, right. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. You might have the wrong hair color, or 2 inches too short or too tall, or
not
what
much.
have you.
I mean,
Casting director was having a bad day when you sent in your tape, and they were having a better day the other day, so automatically all the auditions look better. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a miracle that any of us get cast in anything because it's such a tough business. And there's so many that are gunning for the same position. So only cast one actor per role, right? And oftentimes I have found casting directors, producers, and directors already have envisioned who they want. Ideally, that's their kind of their A list, who they want. And then if you happen to sneak in on that list, great. If someone bows out or there's a conflict, you're very fortunate, but you can't rely on that. So what I'm getting around to saying is I'm trying to do a better job controlling my own outcome. And by executive producing, writing, directing your own material, you can also cast yourself in that material, and then you can act in it as well. And I don't do that all the time, but I'm doing that more and more. And then I'm also trying to be, again, good question. I'm also trying to be much more selective, candidly, in what I say yes to, only because I found in 8 years or so, I can't say yes constantly to everything, because the wick gets burned very quickly down to, you just, I've run myself too thin in many instances. And I don't think that's the smartest thing to do, from a project standpoint. And also you run yourself ragged doing that, which I have a lot of energy, but we all get tired eventually. So I'm just trying to be more selective on projects I really feel passionate about and want to dive into and work on.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, yeah. No, and it's wise because you really are getting a breadth of knowledge in each area too,
Sure.
So it's so important, yeah, to build on that. And yeah, the more we do, the more we learn. I mean, it's with every profession in life, the same goes. Yeah.
Did a film 2 years ago that I sent you, and thank you for taking a peek at that. But I mean, I really wanted to challenge myself and try to do. I didn't write it, but other than write it, I wanted to put myself in the driver's seat, kind of, and do every single position on that film I could, so that there wasn't anything I didn't know. That okay, at least I've taken a crack at doing that, whether executive producing, directing, casting. Helping during the editing process, submitting to film festivals, all of that stuff. And I do feel like if you check off all those boxes, at least you've done that. And I think it makes you more empathetic as well in terms of what others are going through as they're trying to get their films off the ground, because it's tough. I mean, it's a real challenge, in a million different ways. But if you've done those jobs, then at least you can relate.
Yeah. I'm just curious, acting wise, who are some of your heroes, some actors you look up to?
Oh my God. Well, current actors, in today's world, I mean, I'm obsessed with Cillian Murphy because I became absolutely obsessed with Peaky Blinders, but I had watched everything he had done prior to Peaky Blinders. And now I continue to watch the work that he's done. So I love him. As a strong, dramatic actor, he's unbelievable. So I think, if I had to put a pin right now in terms of a male actor, I would say Cillian. And I wish that one day he would consider directing. I know he's been asked a number of times to direct, because I think he'd make a really good director because he's such a strong actor. So I think Cillian is the man. I've really, really loved him. I've followed a number of directors in different genres. Lynch, who just recently passed away.
Yeah.
I loved him, and he was an inspiration in terms of, I think, thinking outside of the box and being a little risky and not afraid to take chances and not worrying about what everyone's going to think about the film, but trusting your vision and just saying the heck with it and going for it with a strong conviction. So,
oh yeah.
Really, really, really like him. And there's a million other directors that I enjoy, but I bring him up because he recently passed away, which I think is a shame. He was such a strong director. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I love his vision. He had that surrealism, that rebel streak. Yeah, just following. Yeah, yeah. And Cillian Murphy, actually, my first acting job was with him as background. But yeah, that was my first experience
Greta Gerwig fan. I love her. I've loved her ever since. I think the first film I saw her do was Lady Bird. Love her. I mean, and I think she's a fantastic actor, but also an incredible director. And I want to see her continue to do well on the female side. She's such a wonderful performer and such a wonderful, seems to be a very collaborative and inclusive director as well. And I recently watched a great British miniseries called Adolescence with Stephen Graham, which is unbelievable. Strongly recommend this to your audience. He's incredible. They cast a 15-year-old boy to play the lead. He had never acted one day in his life, ever. And they did that on purpose. They didn't want like a poshy theater-trained person. In his words, he wanted someone that was very raw. It's such a moving, incredible miniseries that I think is going to sweep every Emmy, in whenever the Emmys are again in a year or so. But it's called Adolescence, and it's amazing. The performances are off the chart. Great acting, great directing. And all 4 episodes are done in a continuous shot. So one continuous shot without breaking, which I think, really good, really good.
Wow. I have to catch that. Yeah, no. So let's get back to your submission in the festival this year. And we spoke to Miriam Russell.
Yeah.
How did that start? She told us she just kind of bothered you until you guys worked together.
Yeah, she's really sweet. She's a terrific person, very persistent in the best way, which I think you need to be in the film industry. And Miriam had reached out to me because we're part of a relatively small but very nice, inclusive, collaborative 518 Film Connection in the Albany and surrounding areas in New York. I happen to be able to be fortunate enough now, flexible-wise scheduling, where I can work on the East Coast, New York City. I can work in Central New York, Eastern New York, and the West Coast, or wherever the jobs happen to be filmed, which is great. So that gives me the flexibility. So Miriam was she did a great job in being very persistent and tracking me down. She sent me the script. She identified that she wanted me, as the therapist, Nick, as the counselor in this film, but also asked me to direct it as well, which I was thrilled to do. And I was particularly happy to do this film because knowing it was her first film, and the fact that, God bless her, I mean, she had not done a film before, which is a huge undertaking. She wanted to executive produce and produce it, and she did it all on her own. She did a fundraising campaign on her own. She found friends and family. She, took out, I think, a small personal loan and paid for some of the film costs. So she made it happen. And I wanted to work with someone like that, where, it's never too late to make a film. If you truly want to get it done, you can get it done. So I think it's to her. She's fantastic by keeping in touch and reaching out.
Yeah, no, Bill Maher says this often, that ageism is the one single ism that everybody seems to still say, yeah, it's true, after a certain time, so I think she's living proof that, whenever, as long as you got the spirit in you, you're never old.
And also, think about acting or the performing arts. I mean, you're never too young or never too old. I mean, we need roles where there's children, teenagers, adolescents, grown-ups, and then elderly, right? We need all of them. In every movie we see, typically, if it's a fairly large feature or even short, you're seeing a smattering of ages. So, I mean, ageism absolutely exists, I think, unfortunately, but you just have to keep plowing forward and say, you know what, there is a role for me. There is a role for us, despite your age.
Yeah.
Look at Harrison Ford. Look at Helen Mirren. I mean, look, they're acting more than they've ever acted before. And I think both are either in their 80s or approaching 80. So you're never too young or never too old.
John Lithgow also, and he's doing Dumbledore, and Harry Potter, So no, it's true. What drew you to? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
I love John Lithgow. He's one of my favorite actors. Absolutely love him in everything he does.
What I wanted to ask also was, what in particular, other than Miriam being very lovely, what in particular drew you to the story? What in your mind made you say, yes, I can do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting story because it's an interesting story in that it shows a young woman who is in almost a desperate search to find her birth mother. So I thought that was very interesting. And I know a lot of friends that are adopted, and my wife does as well. So we know of folks, and that willingness to want to find, even if they had great parents who adopted them, and even if those parents were alive or deceased, they still had this urge, this driving urge to want to find their birth parent or parents. So that was interesting to me. And also on the flip side, the character that plays Fran, really strong actress, Laura Liacabelli, she had this desire to want to maintain her privacy. Like there's very specific reasons why she chose to give up her daughter for adoption so that she could pursue, in this story, a career in the performing arts. But also there were other reasons behind her very personal choice not to raise a child. So I thought it was a very interesting dichotomy. You have one who's really, really strongly pressing to find her birth mother, and the birth mother saying, wait a minute, hold on a minute. I wanted to protect that decision and keep that very private and close to my heart and chest because I chose that. And it was a very difficult decision for her to make, obviously, when you watch the film. But no, I mean, these are decisions that happen all the time for a number of different reasons. So I think that story element drew me into the story because I thought it was interesting. And then you have Miriam's character, played by Susan Carmody, who did a really nice job. And like all of a sudden, at a relatively older age, finding out from her son that she has a daughter, and that he has a stepsister, and that she now is involved. So she, in real life, Miriam's character in real life Miriam makes the decision to befriend and to be very kind to this young woman. And that's where the story came from, where she didn't have to do that. That was a choice that Miriam made in real life. She made a choice to be kind to this woman and accept her, and she did not have to do that. So in a second mother. So it was very sweet.
Yeah, no, and I thought that was so just so empowering for people to see because yes, we could all have our defenses up and just be like, oh my goodness, this is proof that my husband had something else going on. I wasn't the center of his life, as he might have been mine. And still to just open your heart and home to somebody,
That's a really big deal. And most people probably wouldn't do that. I mean, maybe they couldn't find the space in their heart for whatever reason to do that. And Miriam did that. So what a beautiful thing to do. And now she still has a very nice relationship with that woman years and years later. So.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, no, again, the script, the film just really felt so intimate, well done. You just feel like you're in there, the characters feel so real. So yeah, just
thank
bravo. Yeah.
Like anything else with 10 minutes, I mean, we wish we had 30, we wish we had 60, we wish we had 90 or 120 minutes. So you can only capture so much in a short film, but if by you saying that, then mission accomplished. If we can touch one person or persons, that's great. And it sounds like, you dug the film. So we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, definitely. What has been other people's reactions towards it? Yeah.
Yeah, we had a chance to screen the film in early December. And the cool thing, I think Miriam shared this during her chat with you, but we had like a little film showcase that she put together December 1st or December 2nd. And each person in the film had a chance to show their own film project as well, me included, which was kind of nice because in addition to acting, most of us are filmmakers as well, where we have our own films that we've made. So the reaction to the film was quite strong and quite positive. And I think as more people see it, particularly those people that see it that have either been adopted or come from a story of adoption or know someone that's in that, that arena that has been adopted, I think they can relate. And like I said, I know quite a few people, close people that were adopted, close friends of mine, and my wife as well. So that's another thing that kind of drew me to the story. Like I could relate to that almost secondhand because of the friendships and people we know in our lives that have gone through similar situations.
Yeah, maybe that bleeds through the work too, that's why it's so palpable. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a true story. I mean, it's a true story, and it happens all the time. I mean,
Oh yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands of people, oftentimes unknown to us, are adopted. So it's a very common situation, but yet each of those people that go through that have a very different and unique story, I think. So this is one story of thousands we could tell.
Yeah. How about you right now? What are you focusing on? Are you writing something at present? Are you producing something? A little bit of both?
All the
What do you
above.
have going on?
So we have a couple of miniseries that are in post-production right now. One is called Put the Stone Down, which is basically a story of veterans, seven episodes of veterans, focusing on veterans coming home after serving in a combat situation and trying to assimilate themselves back into a civilian life, which is really, really difficult. And that is in the final editing process now, almost locked on picture. So that's exciting. We have another story that's much less serious but fun. It's called Riding with Pride, which is a story of two women, kind of like years ago, the Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding story, where they were ice skaters and Nancy Kerrigan got hurt. So we chose to do a similar story that I had a chance to direct direct the entire production and act in. And that's called Riding with Pride. There's 6 episodes, and that's in the final music composition phase. So that's fun. That will be launching here in the next 3 to 6 months. So that's exciting. I'm in the process of writing several screenplays, which is always a blast. As an actor, I'm constantly auditioning, which is super fun and exciting. And I'd love to direct something again soon as well. So I don't rest much. I really enjoy this work, like we all do, or we wouldn't be. So go.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah. What have been some of your challenges? Because it seems like you have the know-how from being in the business world previously. Seems like you have a good support system, a supportive partner in your wife, I
Yes.
would think, and your children. So what's the opposite side of that? What have been some of the challenges along the way?
There's so many challenges. You're in the industry, so there's a lot. I think the biggest challenge or challenges is that when you're making a film, and I know you've heard this before, whether it's a short film or a feature film, and you're on the independent side, and I've worked, fortunately, as an actor in productions that are much larger, where budget isn't, well, it's always tough, but I mean, budget maybe isn't the biggest challenge. But I do think on the independent film side, finding the money and finding the resources at a relatively affordable cost is always a challenge. So I think with any film project that I've executive produced or directed or acted in on the independent side, often it's finding the funding to pull it off. And not only pull it off, but pull it off in a quality way and in a way that you're proud of. So I think that is that's a challenge. The other is time. I mean, you can only say yes to so many projects in a given year. So I'm trying to do better personally at really analyzing each opportunity and saying yes to those projects that really interest me. So I think I have a tendency to say yes and jump in to projects that I'm asked to participate in because I love it so much. But oftentimes you can spread yourself too thin, and that may not do myself or the project the best that it could do. So I'm really trying to pull back a little bit and maybe make not wiser decisions necessarily, but just take a deep breath and really think, is this a project that I want to get involved in? Because as you know, some of these projects take months and some take years, right?
Yeah.
You're linked for a really, really long time. So I think the funding piece on the independent film side and always trying to squeeze more minutes out of each precious day, those have been challenges. And those are really the two that come to mind. And everything else I just really love to do, and trying to get an audience to see and appreciate your project, whether it's a short film or a teaser that you want to make into a feature or a series. That can be somewhat challenging as well. But again, there are no promises in this industry. We all know it's tough. We all know it's challenging. And you just try to embrace those challenges with a positive attitude and move on.
Yeah. Just going back there on what you mentioned before, regarding the series you're doing for veterans.
Yeah.
Are you a veteran yourself? Is that where the impetus came from?
I'm not, but I volunteered with an organization called Wuss for Warriors, where we'd find or help veterans find dogs as service animals or just companion animals, and I did that for 6 or 7 years. So I felt very passionate about that. I love animals, and whether, regardless of your thoughts or feelings about conflict or war, when these men and women come back, oftentimes they're shattered psychologically in many ways, but they're psychologically, and it's very difficult for them to assimilate back into a normal world, because a combat world is very different than a civilian lifestyle. So that has always been something that I've been very passionate about, and that's why I gravitated toward this project. And the gentleman that is involved in this is Sal Del Greco, and Bill Tebow is the executive producer, who is a veteran. He served in Vietnam in combat veteran. So he's very passionate about it. And they knew about my background in terms of my volunteering work, and I was chosen to direct several episodes and act in several. So I really feel this is a really neat project, and it tells a very powerful story.
So it came to you through that connection of the organization that you volunteered for?
No, they knew about that, but I knew the gentleman that is actually doing most of the directing and a lot of the writing, Sal Del Greco. We've worked a number of projects together, so he talked to me a little bit about it, and then through that discussion, I briefed them on, oh my gosh, this is like very good karma because of my volunteering efforts with Warriors. They may have seen it on my social media that I did volunteering for them, not sure. But it was a great tie-in. I thought it was very unique and a good tie-in that I have such a passion for those folks coming back and trying to assimilate. So I think as a result of that, we're able to see that play out in these episodes. And we cast a lot of real veterans to act in them, and they do a great job, really good job.
No, that's awesome. I think that's so overlooked. It's really heartbreaking, to see people, they're giving literally their all, to protect freedoms, in whatever country, you want to say. But yeah, they're giving so much, and, what they get back in return seems like so insufficient.
Agree with everything you just said. Yeah, I agree. So any little thing we can do to help them stay strong and stay positive, and so many take their own lives. I think the average was 22 a day or a month. It's 22.
Wow.
So it's it's a lot of them, take their own life. So when I was working with the dog organization with them, just having an animal as a companion, oftentimes it gives them something to think of other than themselves and their own kind of depression and what they're going through. Just a dog, I love animals, so I can relate to that. Someone to care for, someone that loves unconditionally. And so hopefully some of those themes play out and put the stone down, which ideally we'd like to release that July 4th of this coming year. It'd be great to read. So we'll see.
Perfect. Well, best of luck with that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
God bless you for doing that. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and meeting you. And again, wonderful film.
Nice meeting you. Thanks so much. See ya.
Thank you so much. And my best to Miriam. Yeah.